Hi, welcome back if you're always here. And if this is the first time you're stopping by, thank you. I'm delighted you chose to come. And I hope you enjoy your day here and you come again and again. And to facilitate that, why don't you just click the subscribe button now so that anytime there's something new here, which happens regularly, you'll be notified, and you can top that up by hitting the notification bell. Rest on the go. What does that even mean? We've been talking about rest, and different people have shared with us how they rest. Today, I have a lady who is also super busy, just like many of us, and she has her way of getting her rest in the midst of the busyness. Joy is my friend. We've known each other for more than 10 years. We worship in the same church. Last year, we had cause to work together on a church mission project, and that brought me more close up to how busy Joy's life can be. Yet, she finds her way of resting. Let's listen to Joy.
Hi there, my name's Joy. I've been asked by Basola to have a couple of minutes thought about rest and how we can rest and how we can find good rest. So I am 36, I'm a wife, I'm a mum of 4 children between 13 and 5. I also work full-time for the NHS as a midwife in varying capacities, and I also am part of the leadership team of International Harvest Church, and with my husband lead a city group of families together. So my life is full, my life is busy, and I guess that I would say that I'm someone who is always on the go, and I really thrive on always being on the go. So when Basola asked me about my thoughts about rest, I had to stop and think for a moment and think, actually, how do I rest? Because I'm somebody who's not often found sat on the sofa. I don't sit and watch box sets. I don't love reading. I don't really love anything that requires me to be seated for any length of time. I like to be on the go, and I like to be doing. And so actually, on reflection, I think I am someone that rests, but I find ways to rest on the go. And one thing that I particularly find helpful to enable me to rest is being in the garden and growing things, not just in the garden but in our home as well. At the beginning of 2020, we were fortunate enough to move house just before the pandemic, and with the house came a really significant garden, and I'd been really hoping and praying that I would have a home with a garden, but in actual fact I'd never had any experience with gardening before, so it was a steep learning curve. And of course with 2020 we found that we did have more time in our hands, and we were all spending a lot more time at home than ordinarily we would have done, and working for the NHS during that time, found that there was a real increase in pressure. There was a real increase in the potential for stress in the workplace and stress in the home. And so I guess we all had to find different ways of adapting, of adjusting, and of coping in these newly pressured times. And I found that actually gardening and growing things and investing in houseplants. My kids and my husband used to joke, because obviously the only place that we could ever go was the supermarket, and every week I'd come back from the supermarket with our weekly shop and at least one other plant. And it was funny because historically I had a terrible track record with keeping things alive. I used to joke that I could only keep children alive, but I couldn't keep plants alive. But in actual fact, during 2020, I found that actually I could keep plants alive, and not only that, but they could bring me an awful lot of pleasure, and actually have almost like a level of therapy, really, or provide a level of therapy or an outlet really for, you know, the inner pressures and strains of life at that time. And so consequently I grew a lot of vegetables, planted a lot of bulbs in our garden. I learnt how to propagate houseplants, which essentially just means taking small plants from bigger plant and growing them into more plants. And I found that actually throughout that process and throughout that routine of coming home from work after a 13-hour shift, often longer if we had to stay beyond hours, and I would come home and I would just spend those evenings in the garden just relaxing, just debriefing, just resting really, whilst doing something with my hands, using a different part of my brain, relaxing a different part of my brain. And the thing with growing things is that there's always something required. There's always something that you can be doing, whether it's trimming off old leaves or pulling out weeds or planting new seeds or propagating new plants. You know, it's a very much an ongoing thing, and I found that really helpful actually to come home and to get into a different headspace. And for all I was still doing, actually I felt really well rested. And you know, there's fairly compelling evidence actually that being in the garden, and if you don't have a garden, tending to plants inside and cultivating plants inside is actually just really good for your mental health. It enables you to rest well at night when it comes to sleeping. It increases your ability to sleep and to actually be at rest really well. And like I say, for me, I felt like I found the ability to be at rest whilst also doing, rather than sitting around and you know, not feeling well rested from just sitting around and doing not a lot, actually still being stimulated, still having something to do and an occupation whilst also being at rest. So I'm just going to leave you with a few examples of some of the things that I've grown and cultivated and found rest in investing in.
Gardening for rest. My husband is a gardener. He loves his gardening, and I would tease him that he's doing an old man's hobby. And sometimes I'll complain that he's not resting, that the time he ought to rest, he was spending gardening. And he would tell me that gardening is restful, is a restful activity. So I would say, well, if you say so. Now, I've heard Joy say it. Hearing it from the lips of a younger woman, I take that from Joy, that gardening is a restful activity. It turns out that I'm one of Joy's first converts. Maybe I'll be more serious with gardening now. I've been rendering some moments of help, but who knows? That may be the next place I'll be going to spend my evening. It's good for your health, it's good for your brain, it's good for your sleep. Garden, farming, people find different activities restful. What activities do you find restful? Everyone may not be able to afford the 30-minute nap, or if you're like Joy, you don't even find rest in reading, in things that you just sit down and do. You want to have your hands in something. What is that thing? What do you find restful? The most important thing is find that thing and do it. Get your nap, sit down, do nothing, think about old times, think about the future, or keep your hands busy gardening. And you know what? There is, I call it fruitful rest. Fruitful rest. You saw all the things that Joy showed us. And I can also show you the beautiful outcome of my husband's gardening. I enjoy it. I come and I say, oh, this is beautiful. This is lovely. That's the lovely garden. The fruits of the gardener's work. If you are in a place where you can do some gardening, why don't you try that? It's fruitful. You get beautiful sights, and you may even get some things to eat from it. Right. You go gardening, go visiting, go shopping, go napping, and go sharing this video with people you think will be interested in it, and go dropping your comments about what makes you feel rested, and stay rested. And I'll see you again in my next video. Till then, bye.